For once, Father's cave seems quite empty. That is a robin, by the way. So, I will stop if anybody else appears down or up those steps, but let's continue. One of the points of the 5-year plan was to try and reconcile my faith and my sexuality so that I could enjoy life with somebody else. And that issue, that problem, is known as flight. And I've been suffering for over 20 years, and I had seen what repression did to it. The repression is arguably one of the things that caused my anxiety disorder. I had also seen from my time in London what, practicing can do. So I had, even well before the start of the 5-year plan, I knew about abstinence and celibacy, and I knew about practicing in relationships. I knew the faith angles from, it's wrong to have the feelings. All the way through to it's a thing that you have to pray about for healing, all the way through to it's happened because you had a bad relationship with your father when you grew up, and I had in turn taken those angles very seriously. I had got involved with Baptist ministers and Church of the Last Harvest about is it an issue that can be healed? I had been in contact with True Freedom Trust and Relate about the sort of psychological side, what could be causing it. Is there a way that we can stop it sort of psychologically? I'd been influenced by those who I knew well, but who had taken, sort of the Southern Baptist, the US Southern Baptist approach, that even to feel that way inclined is wrong. So I knew everything going into this. And last year I managed to unify things. And this is what I have decided. It is not wrong to have these feelings because there is nothing I can do about them. And I must always be open to the possibility that, God will change me, and I might find myself a loving female wife, get married, have children, have grandchildren, etc., etc. But in order to stop things that could be even worse from happening, such as self-destruction, because I can't cope with loneliness or anything like that, that is not good either. And if that means that I have to look personally at trying to find, another male partner, then fair enough. Because, after all, in the eyes of God, only perfection is good enough for salvation, and any sin is sin, regardless of whatever it is. It's all equal in terms of the divine perspective. You're either perfect or you're not. It doesn't matter if your sin happens to be homosexuality or your sin is something else, murder or whatever it is, lying perhaps, cheating, adultery. Sin is sin, and it's all wrong. And it's funny how we live our lives and we tell lies often, regularly, knowingly, but we never have the same kind of deep worry about it that we do about perhaps things that are like, my sexuality. So, my hope is to find a loving relationship. It's not to be promiscuous and mess around at all. My hope is to get as close as I can to God's ideal whilst being open to the possibility of change, but pursuing that idea. And, I've only just come to be able to reunite those two ideals. I did that in my fall holidays last year, 2014, and so I haven't really, it's been a partial success, but not a complete success, because I am not happily in a relationship with anyone yet. But there are things that I can do, and the search and the quest in that situation continues. So I'm here at Lido and wanted to discuss one of the sort of subsections of the 5-year plan, and that was to try and increase time I spent with family. Family has always been important, but I wanted to make sure that I was spending time with every individual, quality time doing something. The first one was my Edinburgh wool mill shop meets with my mother on a Monday morning, and I would meet her for coffee every Monday morning. And the issue that came up there was that instead of spending quality time together, we used to talk about hard issues and very sensitive issues, and we used to tread on each other's toes about it, really. And it turned out not to be quite as quality a time as it could have been. And eventually we called a halt to that in 2010. And then, of course, her job changed and she was working. A more successful one was my meetings with my sister Rosie on a Sunday for between the end of 2009 and the middle of 2011. There's a funny little bird over there. I don't know if you can see him. Where's he gone? I'll show you if he comes back. But anyway, he's sort of bombing around all over the place. My meeting with Rosie was more successful. I was quite committed to meeting her every Sunday to go to Christchurch between the end of 2009 and the middle of 2011, because that was the church that she'd chosen to get married in. And for some of that, the relations between me and that church were not awfully good. So, that was good, that was. We used to have a bacon butty on the way, but of course that ended naturally when she got married. Because after that, there's that little bird again. There he goes. Because after that, she got married and then she moved to Wetherby. One of the, possibly the most successful, has been the proposal that I meet my father once a month and we go out for maybe an hour and a half to a different pub each month and we have a drink. And that has worked really well, and in October we'll pass our 5 years of doing that pretty much unbroken, which I'm very, very pleased about, really. Also, things have picked up more with my mother as well, because as she's sort of in the allotment with me, sort of as a joint partner, we're working together on a project, down there a lot of the time, which is good. So that's quality time. My quality time with my sisters generally comes in the form of meeting them for coffee every week to see their babies, because now they have babies. I also feel it's quite important to do that so that I spend time with the babies as well. So I think that's been a good success. And of course, with my nan moving up here, we started alternate lunches. So one week me and my nan are hosted with my parents, and the other week it's just me and my nan, and that's nice as well, particularly as she's now about a week and a half away from being 91 years old. I'm still at Lido, and I want to talk about another subsection of the 5-year plan, and that was an increase in philanthropy. You know, I don't have much spare money at all, but I do feel that it's quite important to, you know, give something in some way. I found novel ways of raising money through my annual and occasionally more than once a year car boot sales, which was philanthropic in the fact that it took people's waste, I suppose, that they didn't want, things from my family that they would just throw away, sell it and make money. Of course that wasn't a huge amount, and neither was it something that was sustainable, really. So for the time being, that project's sort of over. We sort of run out of stock, really. But I did also do the Nidderdale Walk. I did 3 of them over successive years, the 7-mile, the 15-mile and the 22-mile walk. Now, they have in fact this year changed the Nidderdale Walk to do completely different routes. It was based at Pateley Bridge, and I'd felt that I'd done that, really. I'd done all I could there, but now it's moved, so all the routes are different, and that might be something that I start again from next year. I did have a year off because my plans of doing a swimathon fell through, really. This year I have also started to do a sort of philanthropy that works both ways. So, you know, I buy a lottery ticket each week, and there's a chance there that I may win some money. But if I don't count that as wasted money. I count it as money that's gone to them that they can put to good use to all their charitable funds. I also do quite a lot in my spare time as well. Do you know, I was did voluntary work with Matt Hughes Forum as a senior global moderator for quite some time. When that ended, I was part of something called Colleague Voice, which was basically a liaison between management and colleagues at work. And then when I finished with that, and currently I'm a committee member of North Outfall Allotment Association, so I like to make sure that I'm giving of my time as well as my money for something. Well, I'm here at what is left of the tabernacle tree. It's been broken, I think, and buried as well under all the bracken, but I found it. And here I want to talk about Springboard. Do you know, at least since 2010, I've been looking for alternative employment, and I go through phases of looking very hard, and when I do that, in times I have got very close. I've had a phone interview with Buckingham Palace. I had Upminster interview, but sometimes I get put off by when I apply for jobs and nobody gets back to me, or worse still, when I feel like I've applied for a job that I really want, and someone from my past has sabotaged my ability to get that job. Both of those things, Springboard will continue, and sooner or later, particularly now, it's never been more organised in the entire 5 years than it is now. Now it's more or less just a matter of time, I suspect. I have to assume that what I'm doing is right, and that I'm being guided in the right direction. So it's sort of been a bit of a failure, really, this area, but there is provision for it to continue until it's resolved. So I'm here in Hookstone Woods to talk about the last two things on my list, and they're sort of a little bit combined. The first is the savings for personal transport. Obviously, the idea of getting personal transport is not to give up on walking, it's to be able to go further out, basically. But I do need a significant amount of money, and my savings are doing well, they are growing, but not as fast as they could, mainly because of Christmas and unforeseen expenditures. So we haven't managed to get this into the 5-year sort of timeline. Really, we only started collecting about 2 years ago, so it's something that will be ongoing and will happen as soon as I can properly afford it. The method of being able to properly afford it is greatly helped by my emphasis on health and fitness and diet. It's a way of life, so I'm not going to say it's complete. I haven't even reached close to my target weight, but I have made significant attempts, and I've never been more organised and closer to it than I am now. Although I have to say I have had a number of attempts in the past, including with the gym at the Hydro when I was at Granville and I had to walk a mile either way, and then there was Gambaroo as well, but that is very expensive, and I found that I can unlock money if I can only stick to the sort of diets, well, not diets, but the healthy eating. So that's the way forward, I think. That creates more money and therefore saving faster, and also helps reduce weight, and that of course is another thing that's going to go on after the 5-year plan is over. I'll never do a 5-year plan again because I'm not convinced that this has been a anywhere near a half success, but I do want to continue and bring back the solstice reviews as a yearly sort of event, and make notice of what's going on as well in my resolutions blog.